So let's talk about the drivers of the growth. So first driver is growth. So what is the objective? That steadily accelerate the GDP to achieve the target of around 8%. 8% should be the growth rate from 2018 to 2023 so that India can become 4 trillion economy by 2020 to 23. And the growth, we must ensure that the growth is inclusive, sustained, clean and formalized. Should be inclusive, but it must include all. Sustain, but it should continue. It should be clean, like we should use green energy, and should be formalized. Means we will have to move from informal to formal sector. And the investment rate has to be raised from 29 to 36% of the GDP, which have already achieved in the past, which has been achieved in the past by 2023. So gross fixed capital formation will have to increase from 29% to 30%, 36%. So investment rate that is shown by the gross fixed capital formation to be increased from 29 to 36%. And exports of goods and services should be increased from 478 billion to 800 billion. So export and goods and services should increase from 478 to 800 billion. So economic growth in India has been on accelerating path. Means our economy's growth is increasing and the fastest growing economy in the world in the medium term. So in India, we talk about the economic growth is broadly on the accelerating path, and India is one of the fastest growing major economy in the medium term. And the share of the manufacturing in India's GDP is low. So it has not increased significant measure in the quarter century after the economic liberalization began in 1991. So even after economic liberalization, the share of the manufacturing in the GDP has not increased significantly. So, what is the reason of so low growth of manufacturing? One of the reasons is that complex land and labor loss. It's a complex land and labor loss have also played a notable part in this outcome. And there has a need to increase the pace of generating good quality job to cater the growing workforce. To cater to the growing workforce, there rising aspiration to absorb the out migration of labor from agriculture. People are migrating from agriculture. It is not a very incentive sector to other sectors. So in order to absorb people, we need to increase our manufacturing capacity, and in order to meet the rising aspiration to cater the growing workforce. So we must achieve a high growth rate with a strong macroeconomic fundamental. So we should have strong macroeconomic fundamentals and including a low and stable rate of inflation. So inflation should be low and stable and a fairly physical deficit. But along with macroeconomic stability, the sufficient condition for escalating growth is to continue the structural reform for addressing the binding constraint for a more robust supply side response. So in order to achieve a high growth or increase the manufacturing capacity along with the macroeconomic stability, we also focus on structural reform that will address a binding constraint for a more robust supply side response. So you must focus on the constraint and we should remove the constraint so that a growth can be accelerated by number of factors across different policy areas. So the chapter we should focus on the macroeconomic drivers of the growth. So rising B has to increase investment from 29% to 36%. That is a gross capital fixed formation. So you want to increase the investment from 29% to 36%, 29% to 2018, 36% to 2022. We require both public and private investment, and half of this money will come from the public sector. So we talk about India's real GDP growth. This is how the graph goes like. So there is a slowdown in the GDP because of there is demonetization and GST reforms. One of the problem is the tax paying people in India are very low. So Indian tax to GDP ratio around 70% is half of the average of OECD countries. So OECD country tax to GDP ratio 35%. India is only 17%, which is half of the average OECD country, and it is low even when compared to the emerging economies like Brazil. There's 34%, South Africa is 27%, and China is 22%. So, in order to increase the public investment, the government should have money. So, India should aim to increase tax GDP ratio from 17% to 22% by 2020 to 23. So, demonetization in GST will contribute positively to this critical effect. So, their efforts must be taken to rationalize direct taxes for both corporate tax as well as personal income tax. And there's a need to ease the tax compliance burden and eliminate direct interface between taxpayer and tax official using technology. In August 2020, government launched a transparent taxation and is a launch a new program for the taxpayers, that is transparent taxation and honoring the honest. So there will be faceless assessment and transparency. So they will eliminate this new program, transparent taxation honoring the honest, will eliminate direct interface between the taxpayer and tax officials. So if we talk about 2016-17, the share of the government in the capital expenditure was 16.2%. So capital expenditure, like something to create, like for example, infrastructure. The share was 16%. Out of 100 rupees, 16% were given for the capital expenditure. If we talk about combined for this, central and state government combined. And fixed capital formation was close to 4% of GDP, and fixed capital formation was equals to close to 4% of the GDP. It needs to be increased from 4% to 7% of the GDP by 2022-23 through how it will be done through greater orientation of expenditure, focus on greater orientation of expenditure toward productive asset and minimizing the effective revenue deficit. So, greater orientation should be towards the expenditure, towards productive asset, and minimizing the effective revenue deficit. And what states needs to do is states also undertake greater mobilization of their taxes and property. So, should take greater mobilization taxes and property and taking a specific state to improve administration and of the GST to increase the tax collection. So the two areas in which high public investment will be easily absorbed are housing and infrastructure. So housing and infrastructure are two areas in which high public investment can be absorbed. Investment in housing, especially in urban area, will create a large multiplier effect in the economy. If we create houses, it will have multiplier effect in the economy. It will improve the condition of the workers who live in urban areas. We should provide them affordable houses. And investment in physical infrastructure will address a long-standing deficiency faced by the economy. So there is a long-standing deficiency faced by economy. If we invest in physical infrastructure, will address a long-standing deficiency faced by economy. So we should take sector-specific measures, and this is mentioned in subsequent chapters. So government is trying to increase the FDI, foreign direct investment, by easing the gaps on the extent permissible stakeholding and the norms of the approval. And government is planning to further liberalize the FDI reforms across sector. So domestic saving can be complemented by attracting foreign investment in bonds and government securities. So for bonds and government security, foreign investment can be attracted, and regulatory limits can be relaxed for rupee-dominated bond. So government should continue to exit CPCs, that is CPSCs as central public sector enterprises that are not of strategic nature. Inefficient CPSCs survive and the government support distort the entire sector of lending stake to the public to create entities with where no single promoter has control. This will both improve management efficiency and allow government to monetize its holding with substantial contribution to public finances. And private investment needs to be encouraged in infrastructure through public-private partnership mechanism as suggested by Kelkar Committee. So macroeconomic stability through prudent fiscal and monetary policy. So we need macroeconomic stability and we take prudent physical and monetary policies. So sustain high growth requires macroeconomic stability. So there's no doubt that if you want to sustain high growth, you need macroeconomic stability, which is being achieved through a combination of prudent and physical monetary policies. So how you achieve macroeconomic stability through prudent physical and monetary policies. So the government has a target gradual lowering of the government debt to GDP ratio. So government has to focus on lowering the debt to GDP ratio and reduce the relatively high interest cost of the burden on the government budget. So a lot of chunk of money government in government budget goes for the payment of the earlier loans interest that has to pay on the earlier loans. So that's what the government what they need to do. They need to reduce. So the focus of the government is to reduce the debt to GDP ratio. There should be gradual lowering of the debt to GDP ratio and reduce the relatively high interest cost burden on the government budget. And we must bring it closer to that of the emerging market economies. Also focus on improving the availability of the credit for the private sector and the financial markets. So lowering of the debt and limiting fiscal deficit are important. We know that lowering of the debt and limiting fiscal deficit are important. The government should be flexible in approach towards setting annual targets based on the prevailing economy. So government should set targets based on the prevailing economic condition. Although we also have to focus on lowering the debt and limiting fiscal deficit. So this approach is enshrined in FRBM architecture. that is built in flexibility. So there is a flexibility in the form of adequately defined escape and buoyancy clause. So the focus should be to bring down the revenue deficit. So revenue deficit should be brought down as soon as possible. Capital expenditure incurred on the health and education sector. Okay. The health and education sector, which which in effect builds a human capital, shall be excluded from the estimates of the revenue expenditure. This will increase the government savings. So one of the major institutional reform in the recent year has been the statutory mandate of the RBI to maintain price stability while keeping it in mind the objective of the growth. So inflation need to be contained with the stated target range of 2 to 6%. So the inflation targeting provides a reasonable, flexible policy framework which is in line with the global practices and can respond actively to the supply shocks. Policy should be written to minimize volatility in the nominal exchange rate. So efficient functioning of the financial market is crucial to maintain high growth rate economy. So there should be efficient functioning of the financial market, and there is a need to deepen the financial market with the easier availability of the capital, greater use of the financial market to channel savings, and to improve risk assessment framework for leading lending to avoid situation on a large scale of non-performing asset in a banking sector. So there is a governance reform in public sector bank that requires apart from establishing independent commercially driven bank boards, for an assessment of executive increase flexibility in the human resource policy. So GIFT City, that is Gujarat International Financial and Tech City. So GIFT का full form is Gujarat International Finance and Tech City. Gujarat International Finance and Tech City should be leveraged to push the envelope of the financial sector liberalization. So whatever the envelope of financial sector liberalization should be pushed and should be pushed by GIFT City, and it should be GIFT should be leveraged to push the envelope of the financial sector liberalization, and is an opportunity onshore trading in India rupees. So we can onshore trade in rupees and other derivatives, which is currently happens outside India for regulatory reason. If GIFT City success, then liberalization can be extended to the rest of the country. So first we'll see GIFT City. If we succeed, then we can extend it to the rest of the country. So we must enable alternative sources of the credit for India's long-term investment needs. The bond markets need deepening through liberalization of regulation and continued physical consolidation. So we need to have alternative sources of credit for India's long-term investment need, for example, in order to build infrastructure. Other than banks and non-banking financial institutions, we must have alternative so that bond market needs to be deepening and will deepen through liberalization of regulation, continued physical consolidation. So if India wants to remain globally competitive, then we must increase our exports of the manufactured goods, and we must also focus on processed agriculture goods. So we can process the agriculture will also increase the income for the farmer. So the focus effort on making the logistics sector more efficient. So power tariff structure must be rationalized to ensure the global competitive Indian industry. So if they have to pay a high power tax, so then it will be our Indian industry won't be competitive. So power tariff structure must be rationalized to ensure global competitiveness of Indian industry. So import tariff must be seek to promote indigenous industry should come with a measure to raise productivity, which will provide ability to compete globally. So in order to protect indigenous industry, import tariff can be used and measures should be taken to raise productivity so that our products can be become competitive globally. So, so that our product can be competitive globally. So we must improve connectivity by accelerating the completion of the announced infrastructure project, enhancing physical connectivity, which will help introduce delivery times and improve global connectivity. We should complete projects that is already underway, for example, Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor and dedicated freight corridors. So we must work with the state to ease labor and land regulation, and we should introduce flexibility in the labor provision across sector. All state governments should speedily implement the fixed term employment, and that has now extended to cover all the sectors. So we must work with the state to ease the labor and land regulation. So labor and land regulation must be eased, which is one of the reasons of low manufacturing growth in India. And should introduce flexibility in labor provision. There should be flexibility across sectors. So new four labor codes is the work in the right direction. And all the state government should speedily implement fixed term employment. That has now been extended to all the sector. The government have already established a dedicated fund of INR 5,000 crore for the enhancing 12 champion sectors, and these include IT, ITS, tourism, medical values, and audiovisual services, and giving the significant role of the services in exports because services sector contributes a lot to India's exports. So we must, and which help in maintaining the India's balance of payment. So, given the significant role of the service export in maintaining India's balance of payment, the government should continue to focus on the service sector. And we need to strengthen the governance and technical capabilities of Export Promotion Council. So, governance and technical capability of Promotion Council should be strengthened by subjecting them to well-defined performance-based evaluation. So, there is a performance-based evaluation, well-defined performance-based evaluation of the Export Promotion Council, so that we can strengthen the governance and technical capabilities of Export Promotion Council. And those exports promotion council which are unable to achieve mutually agreed targets for increasing the market share could be closed down or restructured. We must explore the closer economic integration with South Asia and emerging economy of Southeast Asia, for example, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam using existing Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, the Bay of Bengal initiative for the multi-sectoral and economic cooperation at BIMSTEC. Bay of Bengal initiative for the multi-sectoral technical economic cooperation, building the physical infrastructure, putting in place a measure to facilitate seamless cross-border movement of the goods and services in the northeast region help accelerate the integration of and promote exports. So you must focus on building physical infrastructure and putting in place to measure to facilitate seamless cross-border movement of the goods in the northeast region to help accelerate integration and promote exports. Focus should be on the building on the physical infrastructure for putting in place a measure to facilitate seamless cross-border movement. So from one state to another state you can seamlessly movement. So for that you need to build a physical infrastructure. Other goods in the northeastern region, so we need to connect northeastern region with the rest of the country, would help in accelerate the integration and promote exports. Employment generation, necessary condition of the employment generation economic growth. If there is economic growth, there will be employment generation. Growth target by the implementing development strategy outlined in the document. So we should generate a sufficient job for the new entrants into the labor force as well as for migrating out of the culture, out of the agriculture as a part of the job hopefully will be generated in the labor intensive sector. Manufacturing sector, construction and services. So job can be hopefully generated in the labor incentive manufacturing sector, construction and services. And in addition, the employability of the labor need to be enhanced. So even employability of the labor has to be enhanced. So the quality of the labor, skills of the labor has to be enhanced by improving health, education, and skilling outcomes. And a massive expansion of the apprenticeship scheme. So apprenticeship means training. We are training for a job. So massive expansion of the apprenticeship scheme. Apprenticeship scheme.